Good morning and welcome to Wednesday's Market SITREP here at TGO Top Gun Options. I'm Wiz, Matthew Buckley, and we called this yesterday, folks, in my live trade brief. I said, hey, this rip-your-face-off snapback rally is going to fade. Do not believe this. I said a one-day rally, a rally does not make, and we're going to head back, in my opinion, to retest this 200-day moving average. I said markets tend to oversell, they tend to overcorrect, and then they find some medium here. But this is, I predicted this yesterday. We had a short volatility trade that we put on Thursday because I figured we would have some sort of relief or snapback rally, and we closed a short bearish double vertical on volatility yesterday for about a $4,200 profit in 2.5 trading days on about a similar amount of risking about 49 to make $4,200 was awesome. Got out of that in 2.5 days, and now it's time to get long volatility again. Also said to get long some SDS calls. That's the ProShares Ultra Short S&P 500, and SDS is up about 25 cents right now, 0.5%. This isn't good, folks. As I've explained before, this blue line, the 50-day moving average on the S&P 500, is kind of the Allies in World War I, and here's the Germans in World War I. I call this no man's land in between these two moving averages. The market don't like hanging out in here, and it seeks these lines. They kind of act like magnets. So and quick reminder, we're going to be talking about all of this at 1 o'clock. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Today, Wednesday, October 17th at 1 o'clock, I'm going to open the door to my regular 1 p.m. live trade brief. It's called Accelerated Retirement. It's usually a bit more conservative, but today we're going to be talking about the volatility. We're going to be talking about this global stock rally that's petering out, and also how investors are trying to diversify during volatility. That's great. You should have done that before this. And here's the key word that we're going to be talking about at 1 o'clock today: volatility. I just showed you how we shorted, or I'll show you this afternoon, how we shorted volatility last week, and now we might look to get long volatility because this ain't over. We haven't even seen the beginning of the election cycle, and as it's going to get ugly, November 1st, we have Iranian sanctions kicking in. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, clown car still going on with the murder of the journalist. So we have a lot to talk about. So here's what you need to do. Right now, head to go.topgunoptions.com/brief, and you'll be able to register for our 1 p.m. session. Like I said, I'll just open up the doors to our regular 1 o'clock trade brief, and you can see what we're doing here at Top Gun Options, how we're trading volatility, where we're hedged, and what sectors we're trading. We had a great earnings yesterday out of our transport pick, CSX. And I'll tell you what, I'll throw in our OPCL, a copy of our options pocket checklist. That's a $45 value just for registering. So go ahead and head to go.topgunoptions.com/brief. We're going to talk about the Donald Trump of the South down there in Brazil, the Brazilian swamp drainer. This guy, we've been talking about getting long the EWZ. We talked about getting long the EWZ again yesterday, and it's looking great. This is exactly where I said that dude's going to win this election, and the market, the Bovespa down there, is going to react exactly how our stock market did. Since I told my members to take a look at EWZ, it's up 17% during that time. So we'll talk about the Brazilian swamp drainer, a lot of swamp to drain. And then this is getting worse by the day. So now Turkey and Saudi Arabia are sparring over the missing journalist. The dude, he is missing, and he's in luggage scattered throughout the Middle East. They dismembered the guy. The Turks have it on tape. It's kind of hard to admit that because that means that they bugged the Saudi Arabian embassy, which would be shocking, right? I can't believe that countries bug and try and spy on each other. Come on, man, grow up. So I think the president looks like an absolute fool over this. It's funny that people think I'm some dyed-in-the-wool Donald Trump supporter. Here's the difference between folks on the left and the right. When folks on the right do something wrong or we don't agree with it, we call them out and their behavior out or their judgment out. People on the left, their leadership can do no wrong ever. And the hypocrisy is just stifling. Donald Trump looks like an idiot with this. Last week, he knew immediately. Our intelligence services knew that this dude was cut apart in the embassy and never left. And the president tried to do the him and haw and who knows. And the other day, he actually, before the Saudis came out and floated it might have been road killers, he floated it. I don't like Saudi Arabia, man. 15 of 19 hijackers that masterminded and took part in the largest surprise attack on this country since Pearl Harbor and the largest loss of life. 3,000 Americans and folks that just innocent civilians murdered by Saudi Arabian citizens. The money came from Saudi Arabia. The planning was in Saudi Arabia. George Bush let the what was left of the or the bin Laden family that was here in the States hop on a plane and leave. It was awful. So don't get me started with Saudi Arabia. I get the what is it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. But this is ridiculous. We got to keep an eye on Raytheon because we do have a potential. And Lindsey Graham, the new kind of face of the Republican Party, is furious with Saudi Arabia, and he says that dude MBS cannot stay in power, and we're going to sanction his exact words were, I'm going to sanction the hell out of them. So sanctioning the hell out of them might impact that $110 billion defense deal. So I got a couple short-term bearish trades on Raytheon here. Some short calls up here, and I have two bear call spreads going down range. This is not good news for the defense sector. I get what Donald Trump's saying. Hey, I don't want to lose this defense contract. It's a lot of jobs. I'll tell you what, Mr. President, it's reported that from Honduras and Colombia or all these countries, like thousands of migrants are heading north. Pretty interesting timing, isn't it? Right around the election, we're going to have kids in cages. Wonder if that was planned. Anyway, all these potential lost defense jobs, why don't you give them an effing shovel and some bricks and head south, and they can build the wall that you promised us. Man needs to start keeping his word. Great headline. The U.S. is the world's most competitive economy for the first time in a decade. Abracadabra, Barack Hussein Obama. That's physically impossible, and you blah, blah, blah. Talk about hope and change. So this is phenomenal. Good underlying stuff in this economy, but again, folks, we don't have a trade deal with China. Corporate earnings kind of have been good. The financial earnings were good. I loved CSX earnings, like I said yesterday, beat Wall Street. And had a good outlook. So CSX is our transport stock. We have 6-7 sectors that we trade here at TGO, and nice bounce. Look at what happened to CSX after the last earnings beat. It had this nice, beautiful climb schedule, and the same thing's going to happen. You see this? Look, boom, and then so CSX is looking good, and I think the president's going to pivot back to the infrastructure spending after midterm elections. But the president is. In this case, he is right to complain a little bit. I think he wanks a little too much about this type of stuff. But the Fed under Barack Hussein Obama, he had near 0% interest rates. Kind of easy to have a economy that somewhat is okay in that environment. And he had a stock market that was going up because $85 billion a month of make pretend money printed by the Fed was dumped into the market. That's liquidity, folks. So right now, the Fed is wanting to cranking up interest rates, and is also has to unwind that balance sheet. They have nearly a $5 trillion balance sheet they have to unwind. So that's kind of stupid to do at the same time. I agree with the president here. But we got a lot to talk about, man. There's a lot going on. We got to talk about oil, OPEC, and the clown car going on here. Obviously, we don't want to. The president, I don't care. We don't want to piss off Saudi Arabia too much because guess what? Iran sanctions are kicking in. They're not going to be putting allegedly a drop of oil in, we all know China, North Korea, and a lot of our European, quote, allies will be still getting oil from Iran through any UN sanctions, but I digress. But OPEC, Russia, and Saudi Arabia, kind of three words that don't all fit together, being allies of the United States. So oil is definitely going to be a factor going on the horizon. ExxonMobil is our kind of energy pick there, starting to pull out of a nosedive here. We got into a bull put spread yesterday down here on ExxonMobil and put some short calls on as well. So we're doing some good work here, folks. If you, in the past, week and a half have been worried, ulcer taking Tums, and you're trading wrong. I guarantee you're trading wrong. First of all, this has been orderly. This hasn't been a panic. This isn't the big one, right? This isn't the Fred Sanford. I predicted if we smashed or broke this 50-day moving average with any sort of airspeed, we were heading to the 200-day moving average. And as I predicted yesterday, I said, do not believe the snapback rally. It's most likely going to fade. Talked about it yesterday in a live trade brief. I talked about it last night during a training session where we went over the basics of options. So folks, very, very target-rich environment if you're an options trader. We love this stuff. I love volatility. Volatility being up means options premiums are up, and that's great for us. This is a target-rich environment. If you're not enjoying this market condition, you need to join me at 1 o'clock today and see how you can become a member here at Top Gun Options. So head to go.topgunoptions.com/brief, and you'll get a free slot for today's 1 o'clock live trading session and accelerated retirement. We have a lot to cover today, a lot of ground to cover, and I'm going to open up the doors for a one-time shot here, okay? So have a great rest of your day. I'll see many of you 1 o'clock. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and God bless.